Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay tonight. I had an awesome conversation with Jason Unruh, communist man. It was actually a fascinating conversation, so I appreciate I appreciate him coming on to the show. Thank you very much. What I want to talk about today is Section 31 in the new Star Trek. That's Discovery. Sorry, just checking my mic. They have what was a mind-blowing promo, and in that promo it ended up with we finding out that the woman who was brought over from the next, you could say, I'm trying to talk about Star Trek and I'm being intruded upon. Hello, who's calling?
Hello, this is it's Tom Perez.
Tom Perez.
Sorry, I'm out of breath. I just got back from getting on the picket lines for the Families March. Because, you know, the terrible things that this Trump administration has been doing, separating families. We got to make sure that every family gets reunited.
Tom, I feel you, Tom. I would want for every family to get reunited, too. I mean, what are you guys... You've been on the picket line all day? I mean, how long have you been out there?
Oh, you know, I had to just pretty much make an appearance, say some speeches, and walk a bit. But I was running back home so I could, you know, talk to my lobbyist friends about just what the hell we're going to do about Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, wait, Tom. Before you get to that part, you guys are out there on the picket lines. Are you going to abolish ICE? I mean, speaking of Ocasio-Cortez, I'm trying to get my R rolls straight. Are you guys going to abolish? She's been outspoken at talking about essentially dissolving ICE. I mean, what are you guys going to do? She's somewhat of a firebrand. How are you guys going to control her?
Oh, well, see, that's part of the problem is now she's gotten people all worked up and wanting to abolish ICE. And, you know, Democrats, well, some are now pressured into saying it. We really don't want to do it because, you know, it's another part of just the military-industrial complex. But, you know, on the police force side of it,
Tom,
you know, the Democrats really, really like that there is an enforcement agency that does not answer to the Department of Justice.
But, Tom, you're on the picket line. What are you on the picket line for if you don't necessarily want to get rid of the agency that's kind of pushing you on the picket line?
But we got to put the families back together, and of course, as you know, we got to keep up appearances. It's politics. It's a game, my friend. Got to play it.
Wait, Tom, that sounds like you don't really care. It sounds like you're just keeping up appearances, Tom. You can't say that. You can't let people know that you're saying that in public.
Well, you know, I can always just seem to be more honest with you, Jamal. You bring it out of me. And, you know, in the past, the Obama administration didn't have a great record on these child detention centers themselves, you know, which I had a hand in, and other Democrats have a hand in, as you have pointed out on your own show with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So
I've tried to point that out, Tom, but you know, a lot of people don't. They want to believe that the world fell off of a cliff when Trump took office. Let me ask you this, Tom.
Well, most people do think the world fell off of a cliff when Trump came in, and that's why anybody that tries bringing up, you know, Obama's immigration history, that we can just say you're being divisive and we need to come together. You know, it's a great strategy. I wish I came up with it, but of course, you know, I'm no leader. You know, Obama calls people like me Polacks, and that, of course, stands for protecting Obama's legacy at all costs. And there's many of us Polacks out here that have to protect Obama's legacy at all costs. And we will say and do anything, no matter how hypocritical it means. And you see this on MSNBC and all the networks all the time. But we are everywhere, my friend.
Tom, that's shameful. How do you do it, man? I always say that there's a mutant gene that politicians have where they can endure massive amounts of shames that will crush the spine of any normal man. How do you do that? I mean, you walk around, you seem to be able to move okay. How do you carry that much shame on your shoulders?
It's not easy to do, I'll tell you that.
You do it well, my friend. You do it well.
But getting back to Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, Ocasio-Cortez.
Now, a lot of top Democrats are, trying to brush it off and saying that, it's just the demographics of one district. We did everything we could to make sure Crowley would win that. We thought it was in the bag.
Crowley.
And the polling to who we thought would come out. We knew it would be a low turnout, but we just didn't realize that we made it too low, and she got enough people to do it, and there's no way to combat against knocking on doors.
There's no way to combat against knocking on doors.
And excuse my language, but it's scaring the shit out of all of these top Democrats right now. Because I'm not afraid to say shit in public.
Well, it makes you seem more down to earth, Tom. Did political consultants tell you to say that, drop the F-bomb or the S-bomb to make you seem more down to earth, or you just did that out of the, a fire in your belly at this moment?
Well, whatever you think is right. I never said these things before, so it may have been planted in my mind by, a top brass consultant. Well, Democrats may be failures a lot, especially in the consultant class. They know what they're talking about sometimes. You just got to do what you're told.
Now, let's get back to Ocasio for the moment. Now, she's somewhat of a firebrand. I mean, I saw that debate with Crowley. She beat the stuffing out of Crowley. She jumped on Crowley and kept hitting him over and over and over again. And at some point, I even felt bad for Crowley for a split second. And I thought the ref or the person who was doing the debate at some point was going to save Crowley by jumping in and, waving in arms. They never did it. Crowley got the stuff and beat out of him. Are you guys fearful that other Democrats are going to take a similar beating because, you guys don't represent anything? And when Crowley stood there not representing anything, standing by somebody who actually did, he looked diminished. Big man, but looked very diminished.
Well, of course we're fearful. That's why we're scrambling right now. That's why I scrambled back to my house to try to come up with a plan to combat this, because we can't. Now, our old strategy of standing for nothing and vague platitudes just won't work against this, So we actually have to come up with a new strategy of coming up with new things to say to trick people into thinking we stand for something.
Dude, what about representing something, Tom? Why do you have to trick them? Like, why can't you just say, hey, I'm actually going to represent something? What's the problem with that, Tom? I don't understand why it has to be tricking. That's all I'm asking.
The money train has to keep coming. I'm not in control of it. I'm just a shepherd making sure that it just keeps on rolling. Or else it's my head.
That's a sad place, Tom. Let me ask you this. The superdelegates. Now, I've been critical of this because I have to be honest. This seems so modest, and yet everyone is selling to me as this big heroic achievement. Is this the thing, Tom, to have lefties and corporate Democrats running hand in hand in the sun, nipples and tits in the wind, kumbaya, the world is amazing, rainbows and unicorns? Is this what this is? Or not so much, just modest change that is trying to be pushed as a actual significant deal?
Well, as you know, the Democratic National Committee in and of itself is just one big club. And what are all big clubs? Well, they're petty, and, they're insular, and they're inclusive.
It was like petty.
So I just had to, as leader of the DNC, I had to shepherd both wings of this party that is fighting right now into some sort of compromise that looks good for both sides. And, Nomiki Konst and that DNC unity reform suggested we lower it superdelegates entirely by 60%. When I went to the superdelegates with this proposal, they said, no fucking way. No fucking way. They all still blame Bernie Sanders and that side of the party for why Hillary lost. So for them to even come to any sort of, compromise where they give up any sort of power, they had to first slap Bernie in the face by saying, that announcement and that rule for, you have to be a Democrat to run as a Democrat.
Yeah, that was a dick move. That was a real dick move. I saw that. I was like, man, that's a dick move.
that was all directed toward Bernie, of course. But that was the bargaining tool to get them to say that they can't vote on the first ballot.
But they seem
outraged. Of course, they're too petty to want to give up their superdelegate status.
But really none of them did. That's the thing. None of them did. Like, I remember distinctly.
Of course not.
But Tom, part of the deal. Look, I'll be honest. I said in my earlier videos, I said if two things takes place, then I would have to admit that change is taking place, even if it's modest. I said if the superdelegates get nixed. Now, they said 60%. They were going to rig it 60% less. And if open primaries, they didn't get rid of not one superdelegate. Tom, what happened, Tom? They were really that vindictive of change in this process?
Well, of course. Of course, they have to keep the perceived control they have, while also outwardly seeming like they have perceived less control, even though nothing's really different. Because, as you've pointed out, the last election, nothing would be changed with these new rules.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
The media can just call up and say whoever they want is voting for whoever still, unless we make a rule that Democrats can't talk to the media about that. But, of course, as you know, I'm not really a leader, and I can't really get them to do anything.
Jesus Christ, Tom. This feels like a lot of gaslighting, man. I'm not happy with this, Tom. I gotta be honest. I don't know why other people would be happy with this either, even though the public is being sold this pretty hard. You guys are really advertising this pretty hard as bringing left and right together. I mean, left and the corporate thing together. Let me ask you this. Do you think you're going to get those people back who left your party? And do you think you should get those people back that left your party? Because there were 50 million people that said we're done.
As we're realizing now with Ocasio-Cortez, we are losing them, and it's scaring the shit out of them. And Democrats are reacting either one of two ways: by embracing it in rhetoric, or we're going to attack it harder. Guess which ones are attacking it harder?
Oh, Tom, this is not a recipe for a good relationship, man. Look, I appreciate you coming on my show.
But it's a recipe to keep corporate control of the Democratic Party.
Now, let me ask you this. I mean, because Ocasio-Cortez, but let's be honest, for the most part, you've been able to manage control. You had a conversation with Bill Clinton. Now, I need you to be honest with me, Tom. You had a conversation with Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton told you, don't let Sanders supporters take the party. And then you start purging Sanders supporters. Now, I mean, do you think that's fair and appropriate that a previous president is literally telling you to not let somebody take the party? Not to mention, you are the stalking horse of that wing of the party already. Tom, this seems massively problematic to me. Yeah, Tom, this seems massively problematic.
Well, I will let you in on some inside baseball, my friend.
Go for it.
The Clintons are done. Now, you're right. Everything you said before was right.
You don't think she's running in 2020?
But
Tom, you don't think she's running in 2020? That wouldn't be the person who you would prefer to run in 2020?
Oh, no. She's too toxic to the public and to the establishment at large now. We're tired of their bullshit.
Wow. That's strong words, Tom. That's strong words.
But, of course, the puppet masters is all it's about, and those stay the same.
Those are the lizard people that Alex Jones talked about, right?
Put a new face on it and call it Kamala.
Well, oh God, I gotta ask one more question. So what do you think is going to take place in the primaries, Tom? Are you going to put your thumb on the scale? Like, the DCCC has been putting their thumb on the scale all throughout the United States, and you earlier said you should have no influence on the scale, meaning you should not intercede in the election, and after which you immediately interceded in Cuomo's election. What is going to take place in the primaries, Tom? And you haven't gotten rid of the superdelegates. Are we supposed to believe that there's going to be a fair primary process this year?
Well, smart people like you, Jamal Thomas, we're not going to get past guys like you. But the trick with us is that this year we just need to be a lot more sly with our rigging of the primaries. Not do it so much on the national level. Focus more on the states themselves. Let them, to their own devices, to make sure that we keep control.
Wait a minute, Tom. You just said you need to focus on rigging it better. Like, the problem with the last primary was that it was too sloppily rigged. Is that what you just said?
Well, of course. I mean, just look at the DNC lawsuit. We can't even keep our story straight.
Oh, you're talking about the... Oh, God. Tom, you're talking about the DNC lawsuit versus the DNC fraud lawsuit versus the DNC lawsuit of WikiLeaks. They're making two separate arguments. Is that what you're saying? You're making two separate arguments that conflict with one another. What are you doing, Tom? You can't keep it...
Yeah, we have the shittiest lawyers.
Jesus Christ, Tom. It sounds like it's rough to be you, Tom.
You're damn right it is. Anyways, I gotta get going. We're having, another lobbyist luncheon where we gotta figure out what the hell we're gonna do.
Well,
have a good one, Jamal, Tom. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, Tom, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Vote blue no matter who.
Vote blue no matter who. Okay. Alrighty, Tom. Well, that was Tom Perez crashing into the show. Apparently out of breath because he had been walking for the last 20 hours. That's fascinating. Yeah. I guess he kind of just ruined the show that I was going to do on Station 31. But I guess Tom Perez coming on the show is better any day than Station 31.